Well, Happy New Day, CSA, and a happy 44th anniversary to all of you. Well, how feels each and every one of you this wonderful, lovely new day? How feels wonderful, beautiful, handsome, enlightened, and fantastically
Filled with
prosperous?
joy, we sing of your.
These some people, I don't know what is right with them. If they do that again, we'll sack them. You asked me to be ready, and you are not ready. How feels each and every one of you this wonderful, lovely new day? How feels handsome, beautiful, enlightened, and fantastically prosperous and healthy you this wonderful, lovely new day? Well, I welcome all of you to this 44th anniversary of the founding of CSA in this part of the world. You see, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you about CSA worldwide and CSA in this part of the world. Mahavata Kriya Babaji called Lahir Mahashaya in India into a very mountainous area, and when he met Lahir Mahashaya, he told him, I've been waiting for you for some time now, and eventually shared with him the technique and practice of Kriya Yoga and its meditation pranayama. Now, when Lahir Mahashaya was about to leave his master, Mahabhata Kriya Babaji said to him, give this science to anyone who sincerely asks for help on the spiritual path. So over the years, disciples gathered around him. Hindus went to him. Christians went to him. Muslims went to him. Buddhists went to him. And even people without any religious coloration went to him for help. And much as he helped them, some of them also became masters in their own right. And one of them was Swami Sri Yukteswar. Swami Sri Yukteswar also had so many disciples, one of which was Paramahansa Yoganandaji. He traveled to the West in America, and after arriving in Boston in Massachusetts, he made his center in California, in Mount Washington in California. And it was in California that a young boy who previously had suffered from rheumatic fever, and after he was healed, he left Ohio to Florida and then hitchhiked from Florida to California to meet his guru. And this young man was Roy Eugene Davis. He stayed with Paramahansa Yogananda and was transferred to the Phoenix Center in Arizona, where he became a minister there. And the day he was ordained, Paramahansaji had asked him to come with another minister who was to be ordained. And when they got there, Paramahansa Yogananda asked them to kneel before him. And he said to them, "Teach as I have taught. Heal that as I have healed, and ordain devotees into the science of Kriya Yoga as I have done to you." And Roy, the person who was with Roy asked, "You talking about Roy too?" He said, "The same God in me is the same God in you. And therefore, what I have done, you can also do." And Roy Eugene Davis, after Paramahansa Yoganandaji died, he was, because he had not experienced much of the world, he had a conversation with Mr. J.J. Lin, the successor of Paramahansa Yoganandaji, who placed him in the U.S. military. At that time, it was during the Korean War. But Roy was not sent to war. He stayed in the U.S. in the medical section of the military. And after his service ended, he decided to go back, and the female heads at that time, J.J. Lin had also passed. The female heads of the Self-Realization Fellowship they were choking some of the men out. So they said, well, he cannot go out and come back inside again. So he was left with no other option than to follow his guru's impartation to him that he must teach, heal, and initiate devotees into Kriya Yoga. And he formed his ministry. He called it New Life Worldwide. New Life Worldwide. And he was then based in Florida. But in his traveling, he met in Atlanta with a gentleman who had a retreat facility in Northeast Georgia. The gentleman's name was Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill invited him to the retreat facility and offered it to him that, well, they have the retreat facility, but they do not have a good teacher to handle it. So the retreat facility was known as the Christian Spiritual Alliance, which is the corporate name of CSA. And Roy called the teaching department Center for Spiritual Awareness. Now, he then became a director of CSA, and eventually everything came under his care. And in 1977, I went to him to show me the way that I can stabilize my life in God. He accepted me, and 2 years down the line, two of my brother disciples, Ron Linden and John Steger, were chosen to be ordained. And everyone kept on asking me, "Samuel, when will you be ordained?" I said, well, it's all in the hands of the Master. On the day of the ordination, we had a morning program. The afternoon was to be free, and then in the evening there will be the ordination. Immediately after the morning program, Roy called me and asked me, "Samuel, when will you be ready to take the ministry to Ghana?" I said, "Anytime you send me." He said, "Well, you just passed your final exams. You are going to be ordained today." I said, "Oh." At that time, Mr. Herman Shank Simpson, who owned Simpson Bookshop, was visiting Lakemont, and we had to go in town to buy greeting cards for Ron and John Steger. So I said to him, "Numwe, Roy ke mwene ba umi usofu," literally meaning, "Old man, Roy has just informed me that today he will ordain me as a minister." And then he said to me, "Oh, that is good." Now I shared that with him alone, but on the way to town, I couldn't hold or keep the joy to myself. So I announced to those in the car, "Hey guys, today I'll be ordained too." And David Sunday, who had been ordained already, said to me, "Sam, stop the nonsense." I said, "Oh, David, Roy told me today after the morning program, he called and asked me when I would be ready to go to Ghana." I said yes, and he told me I'll be ordained today. Then he said to me, "Samuel, we will buy you a greeting card. We were going to buy for Ron and John Steger, but now we'll buy one for you too. But look here, if you are not ordained today, you pay us not only for the greeting card, but a penalty too will be added on it." And I said, "Okay." Now in the evening, when we went to the meditation hall, 3 chairs had been arranged by Roy, and I looked at David Sunday. He was in the booth, the media booth, and I looked at him, and he bowed down his head. He looked at me and winked at me. And when the time came, Roy said, "Well, it had been advertised that 2 people will be ordained, but now we have a 3rd person, and he's Samuel." And there was a loud applause from my brother and sister disciples who were assembled there. They were all happy that I was to be ordained. And Roy ordained us. It was in August, but our certificates were dated 2nd September 1977. And so I, for a long time, took 2nd September as the day I was ordained, until Roy passed, and Ron Linden asked me, because Ron and myself were the senior most ministers in CSA. And so Ron asked me when we were ordained. I said 2nd September. Then he went and checked, and he said, "No, it was in August, because it was during the teacher training period." And I said, "Well, yeah, I remember it was during the teacher training period. So we always had a teacher training period in August. But our certificates were signed 2nd, and I took a picture of it and sent it to him. And he said, "Sam, your certificate looks very old. Let us send you a new one." He couldn't send it to me till he also passed. And so currently, your minister here is the senior most minister in CSA worldwide, if you care to know. After me, there are several CSA members. Some are in California, others are in Europe, in Italy, Germany, and England. And I think we also have some in South Africa. Well, in 1979, I was sent back to Ghana. And on 3rd June 1979, it was a Sunday, we inaugurated CSA. But CSA has been, the founding of CSA in Ghana has been wrought with what you call a lot of miracles. When I reached Ghana, before reaching Ghana, I went from Atlanta to London, from an American airline to Ghana Airways. And when I got to London, Ghana Airways said that my luggage were too heavy. So they charged me for excess luggage. And after paying, I had only $50 left. Because before leaving, Roy called me to his office and gave me an envelope. He said, "This is your stipend from here, your allowance from here to the airport. But when the plane takes off, you should know that when you get to Ghana, that is where you will find out whether God has called you to minister or not." That meant, he said to me, Jesus didn't give his disciples any money, but you are very fortunate. I'm giving you this. So when I arrived in Ghana with $50, it could just fix my bed. And I went to Graphic to find out how much it would cost to place an advert. They told me the amount, and I didn't have sufficient money left on me to pay for the advert. So I came back home, but when I was coming through my mom's shop, she called me and said, "Come here, son." He said, "My very good friend who says you are her husband has brought this money and says that you should use it to buy eggs." I looked at the money. When I counted it, it was the exact amount I needed to go and pay for the advert. So I rushed back to Graphic and placed the advert. I had already written the advert, placed the advert, and that was how CSA was inaugurated and presented to the public on 3rd June 1979. The following day was Flight Lieutenant Rawlins's takeover of the reins of government. He first attempted, the second attempted coup. The first was in May 1979, and then the second was in June 4th. He called his takeover a revolution. And so many people from the military intelligence came to CSA to watch how we did what we do. And they went back to report that, look, these people don't mean the Ghana government any harm, but they are rather teaching the people how to think, how to know God, how to live well. And we started holding creative living seminars. When I came to Ghana, we had the names and addresses of so many people who said they were teaching spiritual awareness. I visited all of them, plus some new ones that are ahead of, and none of them was teaching meditation as we teach it. They were mostly doing, most of them were involved with DeLawrence and magic, and then a little bit of herbal treatment, and they were, eventually I said to some CSA members later on that since I came to Ghana, there were two people who I could trust and verify that they knew God. One was my brother, Dr. or Mr. JFO Mustafa, who was a neurosurgeon at Kolebu, and Nana Wontumi Apau, who had his ministry in Tinkong near Koforidua. They were the two people who really had a good relationship with God. The rest were all magician wannabes. They were all trying to delve into magic. And during our creative living seminars, we touched so many lives, so many lives. Then in 1982, I went to Nigeria. And when I got to Nigeria, after a few public programs, I was invited to participate in a TV program known as Reflections. It was hosted by one gentleman called Sylvester Ufurum. And after I think the second or third appearance on that show, Sylvester called me one day and said, "Oh, there is a Ghanaian working with the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, the radio section, and maybe I may know him." I asked, "Who is he?" He said, "Oh, this man who hosted Contemplation. You know, you remember his name? Vincent Assise." So I spoke with Vincent and he asked me to come. He wanted to interview me for Radio Nigeria. So the day was appointed. I went. We were sitting in his office, and he was asking me questions, and I answered the questions. He didn't tell me it was being recorded. After some time, he said, "Oh, we just finished." I said, "When are we starting?" He said, "We just finished with the interview." I said, "Oh." He said, "Yeah." He played the interview and it was a hit. So he told me that he was retiring from Radio Nigeria and coming back to Ghana, and that when he returns to Ghana, he would like us to have a program like Sylvester Ufurum's Reflection. And that is how Contemplation was hatched. It was hatched in Nigeria between Sylvester Ufuru and myself, Vincent Assise and myself. So when he came to Ghana, I gave him my telephone number. He called me. I went to see him, and I also told him people I knew who could participate in the program. So we contacted Dr. Mustafa, and then the former astrologer, Dr. Baldwin Badu, and Brother Ishmael Tete, and a few others, put them on the program. The program Contemplation was so successful that it started hitting a lot of fundamentalist Christian churches, and they were fasting. Some of the churches started fasting and contacting GBC not to bring me on because I was causing problems in their churches. And group captain, today all the names have gone out of my head. Clotte, Group Captain Clotte. That was how he came to CSA. He was attending a church and he was also watching Contemplation. And their pastor came and said they should fast and pray so that I should be taken off GTV because I was creating too many challenges for them. And he said, "Well, if what he's saying, which I've checked and is the truth, then I'm not coming here anymore." So he stopped going to that church. We had a lot of people turn to CSA. And then later on, I went to Liberia. To be very honest with you, of all the centers that we opened, Liberia was the most dynamic. It was headed by our late brother, Mr. Samuel Mensah. He was then the head of the television side of TV Liberia. And he arranged, they put me on TV, and it brought a lot of people also to that center there. Reverend Edmond Mampo Ochenche, he was there, and then there were other people also there. Last year, I had a visit from the children or the daughter of one of our former members, Mr. Pilipolo's daughter came. After some time, I went there and I told them that they are in the country, in Liberia, but they did not know what was actually unfolding, and that within 3 months there will be something serious, and so those who can leave should leave. I warned them and I told them that that was the last time I was coming there, and exactly 3 months later, the civil war started in Liberia, and that's how come we stopped our ministry in Liberia. In Nigeria, when Roy came to West Africa for the first time, he did programs in Ghana, and then later on we went to Nigeria, we went to Lagos, and when we got there, the posters which he had made and sent to us from CSA, which I personally sent to Nigeria, had been changed. They have changed the program and removed my name from all of the posters. And when we got there, Reverend Adisi and myself, they took Roy to a very upgrade, the best hotel in Lagos, and they took us to a mosquito-infested hotel somewhere in Surulere. And when we took Roy to the hotel, he thought they had also booked a room for me there. And I said to him, well, this is what they have done. And he noted it down. When we went for a meeting with them, they said they didn't want to be under Ghana, and that Nigeria can never be under Ghana, and that whatever they were asking Roy to make my assistant there the leader of CSA in Nigeria, me not to come. And Roy asked them, why, has Samuel done anything to you? They said, no, he came, he has raised this ministry from the grassroots. Everyone who is here because of him. And he asked them, why then do you want me to give you another leader? They said, well, it's just the thing between Ghana and Nigeria. Nigeria never wants to be subjected to Ghana. I said, hey. Then he asked them, do you know what a personal representative means? They were sitting down looking at it, and he said, look, Samuel is my personal representative in West Africa. If you can't have him as your leader, then you don't want me to. So we are removing our energy from you. And we left. And he told me, you leave the money and everything with them. I begged him to, do the programs. And when we went to the programs, they had gone to invite people from outside of CSA I had never seen before. When Roy came, Roy's topic was an easy guide to meditation. And the chairman of the occasion, when he was given the chance to introduce Roy, he said, we have a visitor from America coming to talk about meditation. But meditation, the title is An Easy Guide to Meditation, but he will tell them meditation is not easy at all. I mean, just imagine someone coming to talk about meditation and introduce meditation to you. The person who will introduce him is telling you that what he's going to teach you is not easy at all. And he doesn't understand why the topic was titled Easy Guide to Meditation. And Roy spoke, everyone meditated that day. Nobody said it was difficult. And so when we left, Roy said, Samuel, remove your energy from these people or they will tarnish your image. And we left. Not long after, the leader had a stroke, and after a few months, I had message that he had died and all the members had left. So some of the members who were left, one was Mrs. Awushika. She invited me to come to Lagos to set CSA up again. I went and I told her, look, this is what my spiritual master has told me. Unless he asks me to come again, I will not come. But I came to explain it to you, why I will not come. And she respected my decision, and I pulled the plugs. So we had to leave Nigeria, and we had to also close down in Liberia. We had a gentleman from Koforidua who came and said he wanted training, he wanted to represent us, and we gave him training in meditation, how to teach people how to meditate and other programs, and asked him to start with a study group activity based on studies in truth. Roy Eugene Davis had a book, Studies in Truth. So we asked him, teach them how to meditate, creative imagination, and then use Studies in Truth as your study group material. Now, I decided one day after a few months to go and see how the place was doing. So I went during the weekday. When I got there, I was, he had rented an office. I was there, and then some woman came and knelt down before him to speak with him. I said, my brother, when you came to Adabraka, did anyone make you to kneel down? He said, no. I said, you know something? If you have your own ideas about how CSA should be, this is not how CSA is. So I'm pulling the plugs. You are not representing us anymore. And I called it off. You see, I have been instructed by my guru to keep the teaching pure. So whatever I see which is not in accord with what I learned from my master, he said, no, you can't do that. And we have respectable men here who have been, all of them have been with CSA for over 20 years. Learning, watching, and living the principles. Paramahansa Ganandaji told Roy, you have to live anyway, so why not live the highest way possible? And from the time I met my beloved Guru, he had lived according to that principle, living the highest way possible. And Roy also said to me, Samuel, on this path, we learn by doing. And so, whatever Roy has said as information, I checked it out by doing to find out the truth about it. And that made me rise among the ranks of my brother and sister disciples. He started sending me to other CSA study groups and took me to the International New Thought Alliance, where eventually I became one of the speakers and a board member. And after some time, some people spread some false statement that I wanted to take over the International New Thought Alliance as the president. And I went and resigned because I had no intention of taking over the International New Thought Alliance as the president. In fact, we have done a lot. We built a facility in Adabraka. I think in 1982, we built the facility in Adabraka. And then we bought some land at Pukwasi where we wanted to build a retreat facility, but the harassment of land guards stopped us from developing that property, and we left it. And thanks to our brother Father Abraham, I told him to look for some land in Chado area. Found some land just behind the trade fair, and we went to pay for it. And our own CSA members who come here, some people, raised so many objections that the government will take the land away from us. It was this, it was that. And so I called Father Abraham and I said, Father, you know something? Let's look for another place and leave that place. So he bought that land from us. He had to refund our money to us, and we had to come to raise some money to buy this property. It was an okra farm when we came here. Those of you who remember, this place, this property was an okra farm, and we started developing it. And it was Father Abraham's brother. You all remember Omar. Our brother Omar was the contractor in chief of this project. When he passed, we formed a group to see to the building, and by the grace of God, he has given us this beautiful building. Now, I am inviting this new crop of ministers to serve, not to lord over anyone, but to serve here in the Kriya Yoga tradition. And I want to ask all of you. We have Nanaya Oben, Captain Jonathan Hammond, John Siade, Isaac Francis Eshon, Abraham Kone, and Mrs. Peace Apiedu. If any one of you has any bad thing about them that I should not ordain them, let me know right now or shut up forever. No one, I don't see any hand. So you all accept that we invite them into the ministry. Huh? Yes. You said, I didn't give you time enough. Okay, I've given you time. I'm giving you 5 minutes for you to tell me why I should not ordain even one of them. So now that you have given me the permission to ordain them, I will also ask them, brothers and sisters, we are inviting you into the Kriya Yoga ministry to serve as ministers of CSA. Do you accept the invitation? They also said they have accepted the invitation. Oh. So now when you come and I serve you, whatever I serve you, you must be able to eat it and drink it. So I thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm not going to give you anything poisonous, but I'll give you nectar. If you are willing and ready to serve as ministers of CSA in the Kriya Yoga tradition, then I, as a representative of God, Christ, and the Guru line of Mahavata Kriya Babaji, Sri Yogiraj Lahiri Masha Ji, Primavata Primavata Jnanavata Swami Sri Okteswaji Primavata Paramahansa Ganaji, and Sri Guru Dev Roy Jin Davis, I bless you by their grace flowing through me and invite you into the Kriya Yoga ministry to teach, heal, and initiate devotees into the practice of Kriya Yoga in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Christ Jesus said, I stand at the door of your and I know that all of you, by accepting this invitation, will do a wonderful job for this ministry. You, Nana, you live in Chicago. I want you to invite me to Chicago, to your group, before a year from today. I'm not coming to Nigeria, sir. But you should also be able to raise a group in Nigeria, Captain. John Boy, you have been giving lesson sermons on my behalf whenever I travel. I want you also to be yourself and do what God has implanted in your heart. Me Auntie Peace, your ordination has delayed so many years, and today I thank God that you are now part of the servants of this ministry. Father Abraham, before Abraham was, I am. He happened to be the chairman of the building committee to have this place built. He led in the buying of this land, and now he is not only a servant. They say that the greatest amongst you must be your servant. And so I am inviting you and ordaining you as a CSA minister. And as a occasion, in this room is the person who has been with CSA longest. He came to me in 1979, and one day he'll tell you the story. I have a long story with him, and I've traveled with him. He has been with me like a leech on my skin. Sometimes I ask him, what wrong crime did I commit for God to give you to me? He said, well, that's what you have gotten, so deal with it. We have my able assistant here, Miata. Have you had a reason now to disqualify anyone? Do you have a reason to disqualify anyone? Come. Please.
Talk to. Yeah, to welcome them to the fold of ministers. And it is my pleasure to let them understand that a minister, as you have said, is a servant. Number two, a minister, very seriously, is the link between the Creator, between the unseen world and the visible world. As a minister, you are the one to coordinate affairs here, affairs up, and link the invisible world, the world of creation, and this world. And that is one thing that they must all note. You must be on behalf of the people, be sure that you understand them, link with them, be humble, so that everybody can approach you, and you listen to them, you identify with them in their challenges, and you try all the time to solve whatever challenges they bring before you, in their presence and in their absence. One of the things that you must do is that when people come to you with their challenges, note their challenges. Now, if you are not able to give a good solution at the time that the challenge is presented to you, spend time thereafter. Spend time, find an answer to the challenge that they have brought to you. And come later, invite them, and make the best effort that you can to solve the challenges that they bring to you. Identify with the people. Be with them. Let them see the solutions to their problems in you. Your presence should always lift up all members so that your presence will draw people and enlarge the organization. Thank you.
Well, that is from the Atas own mouth. From next week, I will assign some of you to the youth ministry. You will start teaching there. Some of you will also be teaching here in this auditorium on Sundays. I may not be the only face on Sundays. I have invited you. You are the same God in me is the same God in you. So if God can speak through me, God can and will also speak through you. So I don't want any excuse from any of you when you are called. Now you are a servant. And you are now a mate. When I say a mate, there's the driver and then there's the conductor, the mate. You collect the money. And you will help with driving CSA forward. And so I don't want to hear from you, oh, Reverend, I cannot have time to come and teach at CSA. Oh, Reverend, I cannot have time to lead meditation. Whatever CSA, you must have the time. And there is something about CSA. All of you have your professions. In CSA, one thing about CSA is that all the ministers are professionals in their own right. And just as I operate a clinic and I come here on Sundays to teach, you also do whatever you do and you come here to teach. And you must be very successful in whatever you do to be able to share success with the rest of the congregation. And so when we finish today, I will take you to my office and also have a word with you. But right now, I want to be the first person to congratulate you as CSA ministers. From today, I won't call you John Boy again. I'll call you Reverend John. I'll call you Reverend, Captain Reverend, or Reverend Captain. I'll call you Reverend Nana. And now you are no longer Agba, you are Reverend Agba. And now you are no longer Father, you are Reverend Father. And today you are no longer the peace that passes all understanding. You are Reverend Peace that passes all understanding. So the Reverend comes first before any other thing. And I thank God for bringing you into this ministry. And shall we all pray? Bow down your heads. Heavenly Father, in your mighty name, I bless our new ministers. Invite them to teach, to heal, and to initiate devotees into the practice of Kriya Yoga. May their lives be exemplary. May the humility, wisdom, and power that you shared through Lord Jesus, Mahabharata Kriya Babaji, Sri Yogi Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, Sri Guru Dev Roy Jin Davis and their successors also shine through them. May your grace express through them. And may you embrace them with your love, that their love may shine forth as your love. And as we thank you for bringing them into the midst of the ministry, may they prosper and be in health, even as their souls prospers, now and always. Amen. Well, I thank you for coming today, and from next Sunday we will have new program for you here and for the youth, and you will see my new ministers work. Today also happens to be our Tithing Sunday, and so I will invite all of you to pick up your tithing envelopes and share with us your tithes. Will one of you come over and give your response? Captain, Reverend Captain Hammond. Reverend Captain Hammond.
First of all, I wish to thank everybody, especially Reverend, for making it possible for us to have this occasion of ordination today. As I'm sitting, I don't know, but for some time now, I've been looking at Atakwashi and looking at Sri Okteswa. The resemblance is just too much. And it has always been occurring to me that our coming here is also not by accident. But the connection is still there, and nobody can refuse that. So I think today, this is the feeling I'm having about you. As we have all agreed, I think that I stand on behalf of everybody to say that we are going to do our best to uplift CSA as it's supposed to be. We will not talk much, but the action will follow.
Well, Roy gave me an envelope when he sent me. He told me that, Samuel, you are lucky I'm giving you this envelope. When Jesus sent out his disciples, he didn't give them anything. And so you also, I don't have any envelopes for you, but we have a reception down there for you, some juice and some jollof. And that is what I'm giving you to go out there and share yourself with the world. Welcome to CSA. Shall we have our closing blessing?